Hey everybody, this is Fritz from JAGMTE once again, here to demonstrate another one of the dispensing systems I've developed for the Scepter and LCI water cans. This one is a hosed unit with a valve on the end of it, and when you order this, the kit you will get, depending on whether you choose the sand or brown color cap or the green cap, you'll get a modified cap assembly, the spout assembly, and a tube of grease if necessary to seal the threads if you have a little tiny drip out of the threads. So what I'll show you is how this will work for you. You're basically going to go to your old can. You're going to be switching out the cap assemblies. So you will take the cap assembly off of your old can, like so. And you will take your new cap assembly and install it like so. Takes a little bit of effort to get the retaining collar under the lip at the bottom. Sounds like we're getting rained on. Screw that on. Once again, when you're laying these cans on their side for the dispensing systems, you're likely to need a wrench in order to get the caps tight enough that they don't leak and they don't cause you any problems. Unscrew your main cap, which will reveal the modification to this cap, which are threads that are cut on the inside of the hole for the polypropylene hose barb. And you simply screw this in. If you find that it drips or leaks and that bothers you, use a little bit of the grease on the threads. And that's basically it. And I've got one set up over here that I'd like to demonstrate the initial startup on, because this is one where you have to have the vent on the can open just a little bit for it to flow nicely. Okay. When you initially start your flow, you'll open the valve and you'll see that it will flow nicely for a minute until it starts to develop a vacuum inside the can, at which point it will start to slow down. When it starts to slow down, in time now, you will open the vent just a little bit until you can start hearing and feeling the bubbles going back in, until you achieve the desired flow rate. Okay, get on with it. And that's probably going to be your average flow rate from this unit. I called this a two-handed unit because you kind of need to hold the valve. You can do it one-handed, but you end up pushing this around as you're trying to manipulate the valve. It's easier to do it one-handed. I don't know if the audio on the camera is picking up. Right now, the can is still recovering air because it was under a vacuum from running the pressure out. When you have the vent open the correct amount, it will maintain just enough negative pressure inside the can, based on how this assembly functions, that water should not leak out of the vent. And I've tested this leaving the cans up for as long as 8 hours. And the vacuum remains in the can and keeps the vent from leaking. So let's just assume that that's going to be the case on this one, and it's not going to leak later. If you discovered that the vent started to weep, that would mean that it was open just a little bit too far and it was breaking that vacuum and allowing it to drip. But my experience has been, once you get familiar with where you want it set, it'll stay that way, and then you get a real respectable flow rate out of this. Slightly smaller opening, you can manipulate it a little bit. If you have canteens, it fits nicely inside a canteen, makes it very easy to fill. But, you know, and also if you had a canteen, that would serve as what would hold on to the valve while you open it, because it can be opened the other direction also. So, you know, there you have it. That's the basics of this system. It's set up with the vent open, and if it's open to the right amount, it won't leak. It develops a negative pressure and stays at a low negative pressure inside the can, and it won't leak. And you can continue to use this until the can is empty. Or if you wanted to, you can use this as a straight out pour spout. Although with the shorter hose, which was what was necessary to get this assembly to work, If you open your vent all the way, you can use this as a pour spout this way, but I have another unit that has a higher flow rate. This hose barb has a slightly smaller inside diameter in order to accomplish what I needed to create the vacuum inside the can and get it to do what I wanted. So that's this basic setup, which right now it's running with the vent closed. Some of the water has been emptied out, so it might take a little bit longer for the negative pressure to develop. You can see that it's starting to slow down. So you can begin to open your vent, feel the air going in, and until you get, that's about your flow rate out of this one when it's set correctly. And you should find that you shouldn't have any trouble with this one leaking out of the vent, and it can just stay on the table or the truck or wherever you've put it for the duration of the contents and not give you any trouble. There you go on that one. Thanks. Bye.